the truth is the number one stopper. They say you think, but you never want to speak up. They say you're hiding there, you're busy, but what's on your mind, kid? What's on your mind, kid? They say
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 56 of the Board Game Barrage podcast. I am your host, Neelan, and with me, as always, are Callan and Mark. How are you guys doing?
Doing good. Long day of trading and selling and auctioning.
Yeah.
Schlepping all of our games for us.
Right. The full long weekend worth of games trading.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wheeling and dealing.
Yeah, we had the math trade on Saturday. We had the virtual flea market. You had the auction.
Today, right?
Yeah.
So I've been right in my wheelhouse in terms of getting games in and out.
On that note, today we're going to be talking about the reason that games leave our collections. One of the things that was striking as we sort of were trading and selling and auctioning off these games is that some of them have been in our collection for a while. Some of them are maybe recent acquirers. There's varying reasons why you might choose to get rid of a game at a certain point, and we just want to dig into that a little bit. Like, when do games sort of lose their luster? At what point is it time to sort of move on and sort of trade up to something better? That's what we're going to be talking about for our feature topic. Before we get there, as always, we're going to talk about the games that we've been playing this week. Let's kick it off with you, Callan.
I want to start with a game that is in my favorite genre of board games. That is roll and write games. So this is a new one from Tasty Minstrel Games called Big Dig. And in Big Dig, you are playing a solo adventure on a board where you are digging. So there is a set of cards that has different Tetris shapes on it and some non-Tetris shapes. I know, Neelan.
Unofficial Tetris shapes.
Neelan will correct me if they're not the exact Tetris shapes. And you choose one, and then you dig down from the surface, and you have to be able to fill in all of those squares. And then on a subsequent pull of cards, you would then be able to either dig down from somewhere else on the surface or continue digging from where you left off. What makes this interesting is that everyone has the same board, and you have little dry erase markers, and it's super charming and cute. But 3 objectives come out for each game, and those objectives can be different. So one of the objectives is collect all the green crystals, and so then you just have to cover up all the green crystals on the board. One of the objectives is connect the pipes. So there's a pipe on the left side of the board and a pipe on the right side, and you have to make one continuous line from the left to the right. Then there might be another challenge like excavate the fossil, and that means that you have to surround the fossil completely. So there's 9 or 10 of these different objectives, and then you only do 3 of them each game, which makes it have a little bit of a different feeling, a little bit of a different flavor. I have played this a few times now, and I think that it is the, and not to bury the lead here, it is the perfect roll and write game for me. Roll and writes that are incredibly popular right now, Railroad Inc., Welcome To, and a bunch of others. And I think Welcome To veers off, for me, into the too complicated territory for what it is. Let me be clear, it is not too complicated as a board game for what it is, which is no interaction. This is the right blend of a 20-minute gameplay, charming, and you feel like you're playing Dig Dug a little bit, which is fun, but also interactive with your opponents. What they do does matter to you, and that is a tenet of game design.
Sure, yeah. I mean,
put
it's
that in the
book.
Yeah, it's certainly notable that, like, unlike those 3 we're looking at right now, this is the only one that does feature any sort of direct competition between players in moment to moment. There's a little bit of it in Welcome To. That said, I'm leaning still towards Welcome To as my preferred roll and write right now, just because I like the extra weight a little bit. But yeah, Big Dig is certainly, for a game that takes a third of the time and you can explain in 5 minutes, which you can't do for Welcome To, definitely very appealing.
I think the argument is, tell me about the context in which you will play Welcome To again. Because I actually think it's going to be challenging for get there.
I think that's absolutely true. I think there are people that I can reliably play it with, and I wasn't sure that was actually going to happen because it sort of fell out of our game group very quickly.
Yeah.
And I took it on holiday, and it wasn't quite a hit with the family because it is a little bit too heavy. But yeah, thankfully I have people that I can play that with reliably, but I would say there's a harder proposition.
But those people that you would play it with regularly, I believe that you, Neelan, would be more likely to pull out 20 other games before Welcome To.
We sort of use it to like cap off the evening, but like, yeah, I think that's probably fair. It's definitely not like the highlight of the night or anything like it. But the way roll and writes are, it's sort of like a cool down game, as it were.
Cool. That is a Big Dig from Tasty Minstrel Games. I don't know if that's in retail distribution yet, but I know it is very, very close if you're interested.
Mark, what did you play?
I played an older game. This is my first time playing Trains. This is from AEG, and I guess it's part of they had a planes, trains, and automobiles. I think they have all three of those. I really, really like automobiles, actually. A quick mention for that game. That was a game that really surprised me. It's a really, really good bag builder that went under the radar. Is
there a bag builder you don't like?
I don't know. I would say it's right up there with Orleans as my favorite bag builder. It's really, really underrated.
Just reaching in bags and rustling
That's what
around.
I'm all about. Well, you were the bag reacher last week with all the letters, remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I learned from the master.
So wait, these are all different types of games, like the planes, trains, automobiles?
Yeah, I've heard that planes is like clearly the worst of the three, and it's so markedly worse than the other two that there's no reason. Yeah, you shouldn't be a completionist and think you should get all three because planes is a really bad one.
Okay.
Again, I haven't played it, but that's just what I've heard. And all three games are very different because whereas automobiles was a bag builder, sort of race game, Trains is a Dominion-style deck builder with a board that allows for route building and area control. I really, really enjoyed this. It moves as quickly as a deck builder, so having the board there doesn't cause the game to slow down, whereas you might fear that. One of the big draws for deck builders are how quickly turns can go, and there might be a concern that having the board would mean an extra step that would slow things down. That's not at all the case with Trains. It moves just as quickly, but that area control and that route building adds like another layer to the game. You're not just, as in Dominion, scoring points for the cards you've got in your deck at the end of the game, although there is that same sort of move from having a deck initially that is good in terms of purchasing to one that is filled with victory points. You can still play that sort of strategy with Trains, but you can also play a scoring points from the route building and the area control on the board. It sort of feels a little bit like El Dorado, the Knizia game, because of the same thing, the deck building plus the board, but it moves way quicker than that.
Okay, wow. I mean, that's a fast game as is.
Yeah, Trains is like almost Dominion speed. It's like, people are already getting their turns done before it's even come to them.
Is it a static set of kingdom cards or a static set of cards that you can buy for your deck?
Well, it's the same sort of thing as
Dominion.
Ascension,
or is it, how does...
There are, I don't know, something like 20 types of cards, and you pick 10 at random or some number. Right. So yeah, the types of cards, but it's the same thing as Dominion where you'll have 10 different types of cards that are randomized at the beginning of every game.
And having not played this, it feels like there might be a trade-off between building a really cool deck that's more long-term and then trying to press out on the board and get that established.
Yeah, that's true.
In the short term?
It is, because there are different end game conditions. So you can play for building a deck that will allow you to buy the big point cards at the end of the game, but you might not have enough time to make the transition because people are playing on the board, which is another way to trigger the end. Like if somebody's built enough tracks that their supply of tracks have been exhausted, that ends the game. So, focusing on the cards can work, but if somebody's really building out their tracks, that can cause a game end that is sort of like separate from the card, flow. So you just have to keep an eye on both paths.
That sounds cool. As much as I like the purity of purely card-based deck builders like Dominion and Zen, I feel like anytime you sort of add in that board element, I'm always generally on board. I love El Dorado. I love Tyrants, Clank. This sounds like something I need to play.
Yeah, so the players I was playing with, this was the first game for all of us, I believe. Maybe one of us had played it before once, but one of the first things people said was, I like this a lot better than Clank. Just because it moves just way faster.
Cool. Well, and that's sort of... The first time you played Dominion, there's a little bit, if you come from board gaming, there's a little bit of what am I doing and why does this mean anything?
Right.
But then you get past it and then you're really feeling like you're building a deck.
Yes.
And that's substantive. And I don't know, and I'm trying to think of, and maybe we can do it together here, like games that have successfully combined deck building with some other mechanic in a way that actually comes together satisfyingly.
Right.
For example, one of my favorite games of all time is A Study in Emerald 2nd Edition, which says it has deck building in it, but
barely.
But it doesn't feel in the way that Dominion feels like you're building something.
Clank is probably a bad example of that because, I think the deck you're building in Clank doesn't feel as satisfying as a deck. It's just like a weird loose collection of cards. El Dorado is probably my best example of that because the deck is so tight that you sort of have to have it be exactly what you need to get across that board.
Yeah, so that combination, I didn't feel like I needed it in my life, but the way you've described it, I really want to try this now.
If this game is, I don't know how much it costs, but if it's cheap on the market, I think it's great for somebody who's looking for...
But it is locomotion themed, so that's challenging.
For you?
Well, for anyone who enjoys theme.
Well, there's trains. There's bullet trains. It's Japanese. The maps are Japanese, so you get the Japanese train theme. That's a very popular theme, right?
Have you ever been on a bullet train,
I've
Mark?
never been on a bullet train. I'm sure you have in your many travels.
Gotcha.
So that is Trains by AEG. I would recommend it.
Cool. The other game that Kellen and I have both played, and Kellen, you've played this more recently than I have, so I'm going to throw it to you in a second, but this is The River by Days of Wonder. What's that all about?
So The River from Days of Wonder is their, as you know with Days of Wonder, and may not know, they usually release one game per year. Yamatai and Five Tribes are recent examples. I guess Five Tribes is one of the modern gamers' favorite Days of Wonder releases. This came out, people were really excited. It seems to have fallen a bit flat, but we can talk about that because I think the most succinct review that we can give for The River is that it is baby's first worker placement game. And on first blush, as Mark would say, that doesn't seem like a good thing, but I actually think it's quite a good thing. Days of Wonder is well known for amazing production. The components are adorable. Everything fits in its place and just makes sense. It's a very smooth playing game. It's a little bit annoying to set up, which is one knock against it, but this is a 30 to 45 minute worker placement game where you are exploring along a river. So everyone has a grid of 12, 3 columns of 4. Is that or 3? Well, it's no. I know what it is in my mind.
Right.
It's 4, 4, 4. But what I'm saying is that
3 rows
columns,
of 4.
3 rows of 4. Not very good at Excel, like my Mensa friend Neelan. So you are exploring along this river. You're acquiring new tiles that fit into that river that up your production or your ability to keep resources. And then you're playing a very basic worker placement game where you're sending your workers out to collect resources, to block other people from picking up resources, to build little buildings. To build a building, you need 4 stone and 3 wood, and then that scores you 8 victory points. And then there are some end game goals that you're going for, which is to align up your river. The way that you explore the river, you want to have the same type of regions be in columns, because that'll score you extra bonus points. This has nothing in it. If you've played 3 worker placement games, there is nothing in the river that will surprise you.
Okay.
Absolutely nothing. And yet, I would like to hold on to it in my collection, and Neelan and I might have to argue for who gets to hold on to it, just because it is literally perfect as an introductory to worker placement. There is fighting over spaces. There is oh man, I really wanted to go the start player space. It's light, it's airy. You get through it in 30 minutes, and it's fun. But I can see why, as a release for Days of Wonder, there were people who were very disappointed coming off a game like Five Tribes or even Yamatai, which I like, but I know that one is also sort of middling.
I mean, it's easily their lightest game, is that right? Other than those two, I'm not sure what else they've done.
Take a Charade.
Oh, okay, sure.
But I mean, this sounds lighter from what I can...
Yeah, I don't know. No.
I would say it's a bit heavier than vanilla Ticket to Ride, and then once you start getting into the variants...
Maps,
Well, yeah, I think the thing that's super interesting about this is one of the things I think Kel and I would agree on is that, when you start to talk about what are the games that you would start to introduce to someone to get them into the hobby or, gateway games. At the moment I played that, this like rocketed to, near the top of my list because it is, like Kellen said, it's the perfect introduction to worker placement. I think any other sort of game you could throw someone to, I think Lords of Waterdeep has been touted as the go-to example, but it's got a pretty niche theme. It's kind of got a lot more stuff happening around the edges. This strips it down to pretty much everything you would want from worker placement without any of the other sort of fluff. That said, on that basis alone, it's not something that could stay in my collection, personally. It's not something I have the audience for. My girlfriend played this and she really liked it, so I think there's certainly grounds there for me to keep it, but very quickly we were sort of moving on to games that felt like that she was comfortably able to play, and it got left behind a little bit.
Like what? Wingspan?
Yeah, Wingspan, I think, being the go-to right now, that is her current favorite of the ones we played. And not that they're that similar, but, as an engine-building game goes, that felt one that she really, really took to. It's interesting because, it's like Wingspan, and the game that I feel more comfortable keeping Wingspan in my collection. It's a game that I would absolutely recommend to specific audiences, even though it's not necessarily for me. That being, if you have someone or a group of people that you would want to sort of escalate to heavier games.
Would you keep this, Kellen, in your collection if you, say, for example, had no plans to like visit family for the next year? Like, is this a game exclusively that you're going to keep to introduce people or to play with people who are like maybe not as into the hobby? My question to you is this a game that you would, with gamer friends, want to play, more than once or whatever?
I'm not sure, having only played it twice.
Yeah.
I think that there is definitely at least 5 more plays in it for Christina and I and whomever at a 3-player count or at a 4-player count that I would still enjoy playing it. And then I would probably have to reassess whether I'm going to be in situations where I'll have newer players there. And this is actually something we've been talking about in the Discord about converting people to board gaming, and that may be a topic for a future episode.
Yeah.
I do not believe in converting.
Yeah, there's
people.
something inherently uncomfortable about the topic, about the idea that you should have to. But like at the very least, if you're sort of like showing someone a board game you like, and then, well, if you like this, you might like this. I don't think I would ever stick on the river for much longer than the first few games. And the thing is, what gets weird about this specifically is at 2-player, there are other really good 2-player worker placement games. Like, I mean, there's Targi, there's All Creatures Big and Small. I just don't think that at that player count, which would be the only way I would ever end up playing the river right now. I personally don't have the audience for it. And I'm curious in the case specifically, because if you're saying like this is something you would see yourself playing repeatedly with Christina, what about those other 2-player games? I mean, you like All Creatures Big and Small, right? That seems of a similar weight and length.
I don't. I believe it's quite a bit more complicated, actually.
Okay.
All creatures is more complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's fair.
But still really good. But I was actually questioning whether I should get rid of that.
Oh, interesting. In light of the river? Or just not related?
Just Mary Kondoing the whole apartment. So
yeah, it's one of those things that it just gets so hard as the hobby and as our game collections get as big as they are. It's a perfectly great game. I find it incredibly pleasant. I just literally couldn't think of a scenario where I would want to play that over 1 or 2 other 2-player games. And to be clear, the river is not a 2-player game. It is it goes up to 4, so that is its strength. Like if you have a larger group that feels appropriate for them, that seems to be the right game to choose. One of the other things I didn't love about the river is that you're struggling for storage space in the early game, and you sort of have to get one of those buildings that gets you more storage. And I felt like it felt a little bit like you were waiting for it to show up. Do you remember that at all?
nope.
Or that's right.
Didn't come up.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
I had quite a bit of storage
Okay.
from the very beginning. The game allows you to choose what you want to focus on a little bit. I decided to complete buildings. There's a pile of tokens of bonus points. The first player to complete a building gets 6 points bonus in addition to the points for making the building. And then it goes down to 5, 5, 4. And that stack, someone can try to rush cheap buildings, which is what I did and won the first game, versus setting up for a better production to make bigger buildings going into the late game.
Mm-hmm.
So
I liked the column pattern matching rearranging game that shows up more towards the end. I think the components and the art are beautiful.
that is The River from Days of Wonder.
When did this come out?
Just a couple months
6
ago.
months ago, maybe something like that.
6 months ago?
Something like that. Towards the end of last year.
I haven't been keeping track, but it does not seem to have been popping up on.
Well, and that's the thing, because as the yearly release that everyone gets hyped for,
right.
it's not in the same weight. It's not in the right weight class for our 5 Tribes bros who, oh my gosh. I dislike 5 Tribes.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys, just revealing that out loud.
I don't think you're alone there. Do any of us really like 5 Tribes?
I like it. It can be very AP.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It can be.
Or it
I think
is.
it always is.
Yeah.
So before we get going, let's talk quickly about the Discord we've been running. So that's firing in all cylinders right now. We're close to 100 people, probably over 100 by the time this episode airs. Yeah, the conversation there is popping. Like every day there's a lot text to read just to catch up on everything everyone's been saying.
Yeah, it's been a great community, really vibrant, very positive, very fun to be part of.
So if you want to come chat, just go ahead and go to boardgamebarrage.com/Discord. It's super fun, and we can all argue about board games all day long.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're in there hanging out, talking to everyone. So yeah, please stop by.
I have it on good authority that Callan has promised the 100th member $100. So there's even more.
that could be you.
And the 200th gets 200, right? And 300 gets 300?
I always knew I was bankrolling this operation.
Right, there you go.
It's just now very real.
All offers are completely non-binding and completely made up.
let's move on to our feature topic for the week. Like I said at the beginning of the show, we're going to be talking about the reasons that we get rid of games. So, as inspired by our weekend at Strategicon, where we're sort of heavily trading and selling and auctioning off our games, what are the different reasons that you guys decide that it's time for a game to leave your collection? I know personally that varies sort of convention by convention. There will be a game that I'm on the brink of saying needs to go, and then the next one, it's just about the right time. So what clinches that for you guys?
I mean, for me, there could be a number of reasons. I'm probably sort of unique in the value aspect of it. I'm very happy to trade away a game or something of greater value just to get an incremental bump up. I just like that whole like chase. Or, if I feel like a game is hot on the market and maybe it's not, I don't feel like it's going to sustain, I will, sell it for that reason. Or just anything in terms of value, because it could be it's currently hot on the market. It could be I know a reprint's coming up. So there's that upgrading strictly to upgrade aspect of it. That's one thing.
Because I have a question for you then. Do you have any emotional attachment to your games?
Right. Somebody asked me that while we set up this huge table of the games we had that we're going to go out in the math trade. And somebody asked me, are there any games that you have that you definitely would keep?
Yeah.
And no.
No.
I have no.
There's not a one. Of
There's
all
not
of the
one.
games you traded this weekend, one that you thought like, maybe I'll hang on to this a little bit longer.
No, certainly of the games I traded this weekend because they're traded, none of them, like, I had no reason. Like, there are games I sort of liked that I traded, but I know that if I really want to play them, I can reacquire them for cheaper than I gave them up for. The only reason I think I can imagine that I would keep a game that I would refuse an offer on would be some sort of emotional attachment, like my first copy of this.
Sure.
But
special gift or something like that.
But I have nothing like that. I'm completely
So it's like
cold-hearted.
your grandpa's chess set that you've had in the family for 100 years.
If that-
I will give you $1,000 for it
yeah,
right
I
now.
have to look
Mark.
up how much it goes for on eBay, and then we'll see. No, but I don't have anything like that. I don't have any games.
Sentimental value.
Yeah.
Do you have
Okay.
any objects or like I'm trying to unpack you here?
Yeah, sure, I
You're
appreciate
the
that.
weird one.
Yeah, right.
Okay,
That's
let's
right.
just
Yeah.
get that out
Let me
there.
just lay on the couch as you say this. Okay.
You're so weird, man. Like, talk to me about that.
Right.
Is there a book, a film, a object that you have in your possession
Right.
that you would not sell for money?
We're talking about inanimate objects, right? People are
excluded.
Okay.
Animals are excluded.
okay. I'm thinking of this is such a tangent, but like I'm thinking of the things that in my life that have like some value above like their monetary value. Like I was a really big Dan Marino fan growing up. I have a Dan Marino rookie card. But if I got an offer that was maybe not like if it's like I don't know how much the card's worth. If it was I don't know if it's $40 card. I wouldn't trade it for $41. But if I
I'll
got
give you $42 right
well,
now.
Now you're getting closer. But no, like if it doubled it, maybe I would do it. Actually, I would 100% do it because I can't think of anything like my favorite book. But I give my favorite books away, so not that. Music and all that stuff is all digital now. So no, I don't. It's funny because I have a really large collection, but I have no sentimental attachment to any of the games or any of my stuff. Really, I don't really have a super big sentimental attachment to any of my things. I mean, they're like obviously they're letters and stuff that I would keep, but
It actually gets weird because like I feel the same about books and films and stuff. Like I would happily just sell off my entire Blu-ray collection
Right.
for the right price. I have one book which is like a signed copy of what was my favorite book growing up when I was young. So like,
Sure.
that's the only thing I would probably hang on to. But yeah, otherwise it's a weird. It is weird because I feel like sentiment isn't what it used to be.
Right.
I guess
Because
in
it's
a
so
world
easy-
where
yeah.
everything is easy to reacquire.
yeah, I agree.
Grandpa Nealon, get off my
Exactly.
lawn.
Back in my yeah.
Well, I mean, it's true because
Sentiment.
if I didn't feel that I could reacquire all my stuff, and again, whenever I sell something, I feel like I can get it back for cheaper. So because I have that in my mind the whole time, I don't have any reason to keep it. I mean, I can just.
This is why you don't have a house.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
It's like if you wanted to invite people over, you'd Airbnb a house,
Right.
and then pretend that it was yours.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I like the gym because the gym is like a very big box basically, and I could just like put things in there, take it out. There's no emotional attachment anywhere. It's all very cold.
Uh-huh.
So then, under that same logic, if there was no money involved at all,
Yeah.
would your collection would it only be acquiring? Like, would you ever sell? Do you see the?
I would trade. I don't know if this is your question.
What I'm saying is that I get rid of games because there is a max cap in my mind for how many I want to own.
Yeah.
Whereas you, like, if you could, would
Yeah.
your collection have 5,000 games?
No. I mean, space would be an issue, and also that would just feel ridiculous. I'm fine with people who have collections that are that large, but I don't even know. Like, if you have a 5,000 game collection, to what end? I mean, I guess if you're running a convention and that's going to be like the game library, but I don't know. I don't have any desire to have some like a crazy big collection.
So I will go over my current system for games in my house. I have finally, thanks to this most recent trade, gotten all of the games off of the floor, which is something that I'm very happy about. I'm now working on getting all of the games off the top of the Calyx shelves because for some reason I dislike things on top of shelves. I'm sure this is OCD. Don't diagnose me, please. But the system is I have a very prominent shelf of shame, and someone on Twitter called it a shelf of opportunity this past week, and I was nice, but I definitely disagree that you should call it that. It is crass consumerism if you have a shelf of shame of thousands of games, and I think there is something not shameful, but something you should be actively working to play the things that you have purchased, to not waste money. But I think that speaks more to how I feel about money than it does anything else. So I have a very prominent shelf of shame so that when I sit down on the couch to watch TV, I can see all of those games that are waiting for me to play. One of the most prominent ones on that shelf is Dune. We're currently working through the novel, so we're getting close to busting that out. I'm extremely excited. In addition to that, I have a closed cupboard where I keep the Once More and You're Out collection of games. And so I have 30 or 40 games in there, and I just cleared out a bunch of them. I put them there to say, maybe I'll try it one more time, but you're on the way out, bro. And then whenever I'm thinking, well, I could play a new game, I go and look at it. Sometimes there's been a couple times where I've delegated one to that area and then taken it back and put it back in the regular shelf. And then there's been other times where they never get their one more play because there's not enough time in the world. So that is my current rotating system. I don't like having too many games. I think curating a collection makes a lot of sense to me. And in general, it is a space thing. I could see myself, if I had a home, live in an apartment, to be clear, I could see myself upping the amount of total games that I have, maybe by another 100 or so. I'm probably hovering around 200 board games now. I don't keep my collection up to date like these guys on Board Game Geek, but I was very, very relieved to have sold so many this past weekend. I have a fat stack of cash here that I'll...
Do people hear that?
This is money. I'm very happy about that. So that's kind of my general philosophy.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely much closer to Callan than the soulless Mark. But yeah, I think my general philosophy is the thing I do, and I think the best two examples of this are comparing my approach to Through the Ages, which is a game I still have, and Mage Knight, which is a game I no longer have in my collection. These are both games that were at various points in time in my top 10, some of my favorite games, both incredibly long games. But at some point, I sort of would look at a game at the box of Mage Knight and realize I didn't have the excitement to actually play it. Whereas I would happily drop anything to play a game Through the Ages at any point in time. Even though I don't ever play that game, at least not in the physical form, I would happily do it. If someone was like, oh, I love this game, let's do this right now, I want to own that in order to keep it. Mage Knight's not quite there for me. So I sort of go on this sort of overtime scale of just how interested I am in even playing a game. Even if someone was to suggest it's like, oh, this is my favorite game, let's play it. And I'm like, I don't think I would want to. It's probably not going to stay in my collection. Right. And that's pretty much what it boils down to me. And this, like I said, this sort of gradates over time. Like I will be on the verge of thinking, well, I feel like I want to get one more game out of that, like you said, with your one more game shelf. But that might just be literally not even from an evaluation perspective of whether I think I'm going to keep it. It's just that I want to get one more game out of it before I get rid of it.
Just as a value proposition, just to say I've cashed in on the game?
Not even that. Not necessarily from like a value for the money perspective. Just to say that I'm not going to probably have the opportunity to play it again. There was something there that was giving me an experience that I want to get one more time before I get rid of it. And like a game that was on the brink that I got rid of this weekend was Founders of Gloomhaven, which is a game that to date I'd only played the once with you. Yeah. But like listeners might recall the episode we spoke about it, I was excited about some of the systems enough that I wanted to try it again. But it was heavily balanced with the idea of how long it is, how clumsy it is, the idea that I would have to explain and have someone come into it as a new player. Ideally, maybe I would have played that with Mark as us both returning to it, but that was just never likely to happen.
Well, you're in luck because I traded for it. So,
oh my god!
So we still have it
back on the menu.
I feel like I need to keep track of all the bets that I make with you guys because I seem to recall betting on Founders of Gloomhaven and how often you would return to it. When we talked about it.
I think that's accurate.
I like this system in it, but I hated all of this other stuff.
Yeah.
So
you nailed it. Like, you're not likely to ever actually play this again. And I fought you on that. And I was this close to thinking, like, that was my one more time game. It's like, I would like to play this one more time, but I just knew that was never going to happen.
I won't make a big deal out of those things because I know you would play it just to spite me.
Right.
You know, like live stream it and send me pictures and be like, look, I did it. What now?
The whole one more time that you guys both have is interesting to me. I can understand it, but I just feel like if a game is so nebulous that you say, like, I'm going to give it one more time and see, then for me, that's just a game to trade. A game would have to grab me, or I'd have to know, like, I guess maybe it's the same thing, but like the only time where I hesitate to trade a game when I get an offer is that it just has something special. And I feel like that specialness normally comes out on the first play. So for me, if a game is ever like, then it's gone. I mean,
well, it's not all about you, right? Or is it all about you?
That's a troubling thought. I don't want to think about that too much.
Because sometimes, you know, you put a game there that you maybe didn't love, but someone else might request you bring to game night. Did you ever think about that, Mark?
Sure.
Or no,
Well,
you only...
If somebody had a reaction like that, somebody said, oh, I really love that game. And then for me, yes, it would fall under that, okay, it's got something special. It's more of a keeper than not. But if a game is ever like... Because there's so many games that if a game is like, maybe this is good, maybe this is bad, for me, it just feels like, okay, then it's in the pile.
I think there's... And so what are we calling this? The last chance shelf or the shelf of last chances?
Yeah.
Sure.
I kind of like the aisle of
The
misfit.
shape up or ship out shelf?
Shape up or ship out
Shelf.
Ooh, that's
I like
nice.
that.
It's prone for error in a
Right.
couple of those words. but maybe that'll make it funnier. I think there is also a component of this that maybe you don't have, Mark, which is when you acquire a game that is expensive or you've been really excited about it and then it falls completely flat, putting it on the shape up or ship out shelf makes you feel like you're doing your due diligence. It's sort of a soft way. It's basically gone, right?
Yeah.
How many games make it back alive out of the shape up or ship up,
Ship out
shelf?
Right.
Not many.
Not many.
I don't.
Yeah.
I think maybe I have one or two. So it's this halfway house,
Right.
where they're probably donezo.
Yeah.
But you've convinced yourself
That
because
maybe-
you put the money,
Yeah.
like Nemesis,
Yeah.
right? I'm looking at Nemesis, and I don't want Neelan to feel bad. Neelan's going to get more Nemesis, right? In the
Yeah,
mail?
exactly.
What?
Wave 2 is coming, boys.
Yuck, fuck.
Yeah, no, but it's interesting because Nemesis is maybe one of the only examples of a game that I'm sort of in this middle ground. I don't really... Like, to be clear, my one more time thing is not I'm going to play this one more time and then maybe turn around and completely and hang on to it.
Yeah.
It's almost certainly leaving my collection
Yeah.
after that one more time.
Yeah.
It's just that I want to get that one more experience
Sure.
of it. Nemesis is maybe the one game in my collection that is very much in that position of like, I don't know, I can still see this might go well
Yeah.
with a specific group of people,
Sure.
and I will play it that one more time and hope it goes well with them. But yeah, if I'm this close to getting rid of a game on the valuation that hasn't worked so far, but maybe it will next time, it's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I'm a little bit less forgiving than Kellen might be. But that said, that there are specific games that are not necessarily exactly what I want that I will still keep around because there is something about them that I just want to... It's kind of like comfort nostalgia fix, right? It's like you'll go back to like the first 5 minutes of a video game just because you just want to get the little capture of something that you saw in it and then move on with it.
I feel no nostalgia. I feel no emotion. It's all about mechanics.
I have a hypothetical. What if you owned, from the reimagined series, a prop from the best television show of all time, Battlestar Galactica, and that hung in your house?
Right.
Would you sell that, or would you hold on to it?
I would sell that.
Purely hypothetical.
Yeah.
So a game that comes to mind, actually, that I have in my shape up or ship out shelf is Capital Lux. This is a small card game that we played at BarageCon and enjoyed. It's similar to Coup in some ways. It's similar to Biblios in a couple ways. And it's a small box card game that many people adore. And we liked it.
I like it, I think, more than you. I don't know what Neelan feels about it. I like it. I like it a lot.
But can you see where it fits in this... It's this comfortable middle ground.
Yeah, sure.
Though probably gone, but... There might be the right opportunity where the three of us are looking for something small to play where we'd bust it out again, and then something might reveal itself. And honestly, if a game can reveal something to me on the third play, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
sure. And that's the thing that gets increasingly hard is that, you know, a lot of these games we're talking about, maybe they've had one or two plays, and for a lot of them, that's not enough to maybe reveal their hidden depths, but part of the problem is exactly that. Like, if a game isn't exciting on the first few times you play it, it's hard to justify finding that spark in it, like, giving it the time it probably needs. But I think we're all in a position where that's our biggest luxury.
Sometimes I've had a play of a game and I sort of felt like I could tell like it has more to offer on further plays, even if I didn't enjoy the first play. And that's something that would make me lean to keeping it. So
let's talk through some of the games that maybe we got rid of this weekend, and maybe just give like a brief rundown of why it was time for that game in particular. Callan, anything come to mind?
Rapid fire style? No, let's do this rapid fire style.
Let's do this like this. I'm going to sort of rapid fire all the games on your trade list that you gave away in the math trade, and you're going to tell me why you did them in one sentence. Cool. We'll start with Callan. Tell me about Animals on Board.
Animals on Board is fun and cute, but I don't like fun and cute anymore.
Tell me about Escape. Escape?
The doctor was wrong once.
I actually ended up with that copy of Escape.
Yeah,
true.
Why did you do that?
Because I'm going to get more value for it. I'm going to trade it well.
Riff Raff.
This is a fantastic dexterity game. Setting it up and taking it down was kind of annoying. And the game attached to the physical object is a little bit wonky.
I also got this in trade.
Yes. Ponzi Scheme.
Ponzi Scheme is a super cool, super interesting game that makes me feel like no other game does, but I just did not see myself playing it in the upcoming year.
Sailing Toward Osiris.
Never played it, doesn't look good.
We played it, it's not very good.
Yeah.
War Chest.
War Chest is a 2-player abstract game with super great components. I enjoyed my plays of it, but I don't really like 2-player abstract games.
This is the one that I was a little upset seeing that you traded because I did want to. I
tried to have set it up so you could play it, but I think you both should try it.
Yeah, and Callan and I sort of, you asked me before you trade, it's like, would you have wanted to play this? And I was like, maybe once or twice, but I think the joy of that is in playing it more than that. So
it's like I could come up with 5 games that I'd rather 2-player with each of you right now.
Right.
And 3 of them we haven't played, and 2 of them are repeats of innovation.
Okay, Callan, I've got your list from the auction of the games I schlepped for you. So I'll go through these games. So you had a Smash Up lot, a lot of Smash Up games.
Smash Up is a fun idea of combining 2 different decks together, and that is all it is, a fun idea.
Okay, you sold Herbaceous Sprouts and Herbaceous.
Card game with no fangs.
Onitama.
Another 2-player abstract that I actually really enjoy and would play in the app format, but don't ever see myself playing it with someone else.
Bloodborne.
This game supposedly gets good if you buy the expansions, but on principle, I will not buy a game so that it can get good.
Dark Moon, which has been killed by Thing.
That is not true. Dark Moon is just a game that has not gotten to the table in a few years. I enjoy it a lot. There are other social deduction games like
The Thing, Outpost.
Like Deception that are just shorter that I'll end up playing. And I do have the Granddaddy Battlestar Galactica, as discussed by the aforementioned prop, that I would play if needed.
I really wanted to like Dark Moon, but it just felt too clunky for me. Fae
was a bit too abstract. I love the components. I just didn't see me playing it over a game like Through the Desert or many other of those short 30 to 45-minute games.
Niagara?
This is a gimmick, man. I have some cool pictures on Instagram of Niagara, but where you're boats and you're pushing them down the river, but man, is it not a game.
I agree. I mean, I don't know if I'd say it's not a game, but I did not like my plays of it. I sold my copy as well. Gekaido? Is that how you pronounce it?
Never played it, actually. This is very shameful, but it's supposed to be... It has the coolest components in it. They're pre-painted miniatures. It's supposed to be their take on King of Tokyo. King of Tokyo will be just fine.
Speaking of Tokyo Highway.
Tokyo Highway is getting increasingly popular, and I only liked it before it was cool.
Oceanos.
Played about half a game of this, and wow, drafting is boring.
And Manhattan.
This is a cool one. I just did not see me pulling it out because that light group that you need to enjoy it, we're not in that situation enough, and in my game nights, they're getting more heavy overall.
Right. And Battle for Rokugan.
So this is the most crowded genre, area control, dudes on a map style games. It abstracted it so much that some of the tension went away for me. Still a really cool game, though. And Neelan bought it, so I can just play his.
I made a point of picking this up on sale because I liked enough about it that, I still wanted to hang on to it.
Yeah, I'd love to play it. All right, Neelan.
Yeah.
Let us talk about the games that left your collection
Uh-huh.
at Strategicon 2019. And you have one sentence, Neelan.
Technically Orcon.
I will not call it that. Founders of Gloomhaven.
Knew I would probably never play it again.
Lowlands.
Lowlands just didn't like as much as other Uwe-style worker placement games in that way.
This is hard because I want to respond, but I should. Epic, the card game.
Bad game.
Wendake.
Wendake, similar to other games, but had a weird area control fighty mechanic that I don't think worked with at all.
And I got his copy of it.
Yeah,
I think you like saying Wendake more than you like playing.
that's probably true.
Civilization and New Dawn.
I wanted to like this. I don't think it's a good Civilization game. Through the Ages is much better, and this kind of fell flat the 3 or 4 times I played it.
Coimbra.
Coimbra, another game I wanted to like, just didn't really come together for me. I don't know. I think other people have liked it more than I did, but didn't work for me.
I'm sad you got rid of this. I wanted to try it.
Okay, that's fair.
Century Eastern Wonders. We told you not to buy this.
Yeah, that's fair. After Spice Road, I don't know why I did buy it. I liked it enough to think that this would be a gateway game I would play, but no, it's not as good as other games I would play.
Caverna, Cave versus Cave.
Just not as good as other 2-player games I would play. Having played this with my girlfriend, it didn't work well for either one of us, and there are better 2-player games.
What the hell is Siege Storm?
So Siege Storm was given away with Lords of Hellas, and it literally on the box says, this is probably a bad game. It literally says that on the back of the box. They have this weird jokey blurb in the back.
Do you get anything good for it?
No, I gave it away. It's a free game. I just think it was just almost a promo for the Kickstarter they just launched. And
I think you mentioned something about this. That's kind of a unique idea.
yeah.
Cool.
All right, I'm going to go over my own list because I have games listed all different places. So I'm just going to run through my own list here because I'm...
And then we can heckle you.
Yeah, perfect. That's great. Exactly. Okay. Got rid of Builders of Blankenberg because it's just a mediocre game.
Blankenberg?
That's perfect.
Is that next to Quedlinburg?
That's right. Exactly. Got rid of Risk Legacy because I got it during the height of the whole legacy thing, and now I just realized that there's no way I am going to either find a group and put the time in and
So wait, you thought you were actually going to play that at some point?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's good.
I'm surprised that was something that you bought with the intent of playing.
Yeah,
not just to sell.
Oh no. Yeah. No, I had the intention of playing. It was during it was right after I got Pandemic Legacy, and that was really fun.
Yeah.
And
Cool.
Yeah.
He's scarred from Charterstone, Neelan. You made us go through
That's fair.
9 times, Neelan.
Almost
9
finished it.
times.
You came so close.
Sleuth is a game I like, but I've got plenty of other deduction games. Got an offer that was better than my reason to keep it, so I got rid of it. Chinatown was a game that it's out of print. It's like a grail game for a lot of people. The problem is I just think it's too mathy. I think it's less negotiation. Not less negotiation. I just think it's more mathy than it is negotiation-y, and I wanted a negotiation game, so that's why I got rid of it. I also got a really good game for it, which was the new Endeavor game, which I was looking forward to. So that was a really good trade in terms of value, and in terms of I just was not as psyched for Chinatown as I thought I'd be after we played it. Railroad Revolution is one of the few What's Your Game games that I think is just mediocre. What's Your Game are the makers of Zangwo and of Nippon and of Signore. Those are all really good games. I think Railroad Revolution is sort of the most mediocre of their set. Key to the City London, we all played this together. I think that Keyflower is probably my preferred game, so no reason to hang on to Key to the City London. Gates of Loyang I sold because there's a reprint coming out, so that's a pure value.
That's a good game.
Oh, have you played it?
Yeah, it's good. It's one of his that surprises me that it's not spoken about more.
Right. I sold Drop Mix, the game of like a DJ sort of in-game that was hot for a while there. Played it once and there's not any game. Yeah, there's not even enough illusion of a game to make it something that I want.
I heard it's fun as a novelty, but
yeah, when I broke it out, I was hoping for that at least that novelty kick that oh, this is a cool thing at least at the beginning, and it didn't even get that, so there was nothing there for me. Yeah, all my other trades were pretty much just value propositions where I just thought got an offer that was too good to pass up. So,
speaking of which, what was the best trade that you made at Strategicon and or best purchase that you made or person that you ripped off?
Well, I didn't rip anybody off because everybody made trades or sales of their own free will. So nobody was ripped off. This is all...
Besides when you got Nealon and I, right? Because you took our games for more value.
You guys agreed to that. I mean, when you go into a math trade, you agree on getting what you're going to get. My best trade was when I just mentioned Chinatown for the new copy of Endeavor Age of Sail. That's the game I really want to play. So in terms of Chinatown, which a game was that didn't meet my expectations, to Endeavor, which is a game I'm excited about, and also a game that, in terms of just strictly value, I gained there. I got a copy in the flea market of Biblios Dice. More Biblios in my life is always good. I got that for $10. But my number one acquisition at Strategicon was I got a copy of the Oink edition of Knizia's Modern Art. It's actually double an Oink size standard box, but it's just a really lovely production. It's got a little easel in it. Fantastic. Out of print. Never came to the U.S. actually. Only German and Japanese. And I got it for $5. And that was fantastic. I think it goes for 70 or something.
Is there a couple somewhere that you want to apologize to?
I mean, not really. They put it out there and they put the price tag on. And if it wasn't me, it'd be somebody else. I mean, I made sure it was me, to be clear. But yeah,
you shoved some people out of the way.
When I saw it, because I bought Biblios Dice first for $10, and they're putting all. He was just like they're putting all these games out and then sticking these stickers on with the price tags. And I saw it in the corner, and I saw the Oink symbol, and I was like, "That's weird. That's like a large Oink game. Like what is it?" And I think the name Modern Art was obscured by the sticker they put on. And then I looked over and I realized it was Modern Art. And just like my hand started shaking because their table was crowded. So I actually had to like get around and like nudge my way in. And I was terrified somebody else was going to grab it. So I made sure to grab it.
When you came back to us, you were still kind of shaking.
Oh, yeah. I was super excited. I could not believe it. I didn't think there would be much chances to get my hands on a copy. So to get it for $5 was fantastic. Did you guys have any trades that were especially exciting or happy that you made?
It was all money for me, man. Yeah. I needed to empty out the shut up,
ship up and
ship up and shut down,
ship down, and
shape up or shape up or ship out shelf.
Right.
I emptied it out and it's now full again. So
is it really?
Yeah, we're back at it, baby.
Oh, so you've moved games from your standard collection to the Might Be Going.
That's right.
Any notables in there, out of curiosity?
Oh, you're testing my memory.
Okay. Innovation, perhaps?
Of course, yeah.
It was mostly an offload weekend for me. The only thing I picked up, which I'm actually excited to try, is Dice Throne Season 1, which I was surprised to see on a lot of people's top of 2018 lists for last year, despite not really hearing much about it up until that point. So yeah, I'm excited to check that out.
Nice.
So I think that's going to wrap it for our talk about moving stuff out of a collection. Let's finish out the episode with a little email we received. I think Mark's going to like this one especially.
Okay, I'm excited.
The subject is, Biblios has a good theme.
There you go.
Exclamation mark.
Exactly. I've been saying this for so long, and now somebody is backing me up finally. Can't wait to hear this.
This comes in from Benjamin. He says, "Hi, Board Game Barrage. Love the podcast and the dynamic you all bring with different tastes and opinions. It has quickly become one of my favorite podcasts, and I've been listening straight through, starting at number 1, to and from work for the past month. Just got to episode number 30 this morning. Since I'm in the past and not caught up, I sometimes feel I have nowhere to let out my comments, so I thought I'd send my appreciation your way. I have my undergraduate and master's in theology.
Undergraduate and master's. I will just point out this is a learned man.
But I would say not a doctor.
Not a doctor yet, yeah.
A master. So I'm not sure where that ranks with doctor, but it's somewhere in the same ballpark at least.
I have an undergraduate and master's in theology and love learning about the history of the Christian church. Biblios' theme is actually something that actively draws me in for that reason.
Boom.
We're out there.
Boom.
Open brackets. Gameplay I'm less sold on. Close brackets.
Okay, keep going. Let's
talk about that a little bit
We
more.
don't read anything in brackets, Nealon.
Yeah.
How many times have we told you?
A few episodes back, you all discussed winning in competition. For what it's worth, I truly don't mind losing, although I always try to stay competitive. and do my best, which is a great emphasis with all of you. So I like winning, but equally don't mind losing, and oftentimes it makes it worse for my competitive friends. Why won't I be more destroyed? Thanks for the time and the fun. Keep up the great work. I have a board game Instagram at Tabletop Times that I just use personally to follow board game stuff, and I love your page too. Signed, Ben. Thanks so much for writing in, Ben.
Yes, thank you, Ben, for all but one little part of that.
I mean, the best part was where he liked my Instagram page, right?
I mean, I wouldn't agree to that exactly, but
Biblios has a theme.
it does have a theme.
This feels like the makings of a full episode.
A master of theology said that. So what are you going to say to that?
It sounds
Who
like
are you to question a master of theology?
I feel like it could be you and, what is his name, Ben? Master Ben on one side, and then I'll invite Dr. Finn, and him and I will sort of take the it has no theme side, and we'll
Dr.
crush you.
Finn is going to be on your side?
Dr. Finn is always
Are you
on my
crazy?
side.
You're saying Dr. Finn is going to be on your side of this argument.
This sounds like the makings of a debate.
Why would Dr.
The
Finn
creator of
argue
Biblios
against
is going to argue that Biblios doesn't have a theme?
Because he's going to reveal, like, yeah, man, it was originally
Just
dinosaurs.
First of all, Dr. Finn does not say, yeah, man. Let's get that straight.
Have you ever spoken to this doctor?
We're friends on Facebook. We've chatted. Don't you dare presume that I don't know Dr. Finn. So,
Benjamin, you have your doctor's thesis topic right here.
yeah, there you go. I can be interviewed anytime. Give me a call.
Thank you.
Put you in touch with Dr.
Yeah, you're
Finn.
an expert. He's going to cite you in his
Yeah.
paper.
I'm not quite a master of theology, but I feel like I'm close.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played Biblios a bunch of times.
That counts.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you for writing in. Anyone else that wants to write to us, please do so at boardgamebarrage@gmail.com. We love reading your emails out on the episode, so please write in. Otherwise, you can reach out to us on all of our social media. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram. You can just search for Board Game Barrage and you'll probably find us. Also, like I said earlier in the episode, join our Discord. That's boardgamebarrage.com/Discord. Thank you all so much for listening. Thank you as ever to Heart Society for letting us use their song What's on Your Mind, Kid as our intro and outro music. You can check them out at heartsocietymusic.com. That's going to do it for the show. Goodbye.
See ya.
Bye.
We set up this table that Kellen has put a picture up on Craigslist. Jesus Christ.
Yep.
I post all of our pictures on Craigslist.
Yeah.
Exclusively.
The casual encounter section.
Yeah, so in addition to Craigslist, he also put it on Instagram. So there's this huge table of